Well, with me now is Suzanne Evans. She's UKIP Deputy Chair and she's the author of the Manifesto and a woman brandishing the answers there. Just on the big question of what UKIP is saying it would do on immigration, I'm a little confused. What is it?
Very simple, Adam. We will introduce an Australian point-style system, just like they have in Australia, to control immigration. As we know,
I understand,
it's
but what about
completely
numbers?
Numbers, well, we're going to have a cap of 50,000 on skilled workers.
I thought you weren't going to have a cap.
We weren't going to have a cap, but unfortunately the other parties so persist about talking about numbers. I think we actually do need to give the public some clarity.
So the cap is what, 50,000?
50,000 on skilled workers. We're also going to have a 5-year moratorium on unskilled workers coming into the country.
So they won't be able to come at all?
They won't be able to come at all for 5 years. That will absolutely cut the numbers by 150,000 before we start to do anything else.
So what's going to happen to the farms in Boston and Skegness, where they've got a lot of immigrant workers working there?
Well, do you know what? One of the other things that is going to come on stream very soon is universal credit. So there will be more people who are perhaps unemployed who can do the part-time work to start with that they can't do at the moment because they're terrified of losing their benefits. There's also students. I did some of that farm work when I was a student. We'll have not just British students taking over those roles, but also our international students as well.
The reality is, at the moment, for whatever reason, British people don't seem to want to do those jobs, and you're saying, what, to keep those farms alive, you're going to force them to do them?
I actually questioned this line that the British people don't want to work. I'm actually sick to death of this line because I don't think it's true.
Well, that's not what the employers in the region say.
Well,
it's not what the farmers say.
You might want to say actually would prefer to have cheaper labour, and unfortunately
so
we know
have
that
to
one
pay
of the
them more,
problems has been...
They'd have to pay people...
I think they should certainly pay the minimum wage. What we've seen is mass uncontrolled immigration pressing wages down constantly, and unfortunately we do know that people are not being paid the minimum wage, and one of the other pledges that we've been making in our manifesto is to actually enforce the minimum wage, and that's very
let's be clear, no unskilled labourers at all from either EU countries or non-EU countries?
Absolutely, for 5 years though, just to get the balance right. You know, this is what the British people want. Immigration is constantly a top...
So is that a net figure, this 50,000, or is that...
That's a gross figure. We don't want to behave like a former communist bloc, Adam, and stop people from leaving the country. We can't do that. And I think, in a sense, the way that the old parties have constantly talked about net migration has been something of a fudge. Yeah. We should be actually focusing on the gross, not the net.
OK. Now, you are the biggest spending party, as far as I can make out from your place.
That's because, as I said in your report, we are the party that has the money, just by making some very simple spending commitments. And as you saw there too, we've had everything independently audited by the Centre for Economic Business and Research.
But I mean, not everyone agrees, for example, not everyone agrees that you would necessarily save £9 billion by coming out of the European Union. I realise it's central to UKIP's beliefs, but not everyone believes
Well,
it.
the CEBR, a very respected organisation, why on earth would they put their reputation on the line? Why would they actually risk putting their reputation on the line over something like this to stand up for UKIP without any good reason?
Well, why? Just explain. How do you save £9 billion?
That's what it costs in membership. I mean, that's government figures. That's how much we are paying over as part of our basic fundamental membership.
But it's also true that there is money coming back from the EU, isn't there?
Actually, not as much as we give out. There's only 1 year we've ever actually gotten back more. Can I just finish this point? There's only 1 year where we ever got back more than we gave in, and that was 1975, the year we had the referendum.
I wasn't talking about getting back more than we put in. I was saying that, again, you're using a net figure, not a gross figure.
Well, of course, we can't use a gross figure, because that would be unfair.
And you don't know how much you're going to get back from the EU.
If I said to you 20 billion, which is the gross
payment,
and
you don't believe being part of the European Union, which is the biggest trading bloc, is worth anything?
Well, Switzerland manages very well. Norway manages perfectly well. Iceland manages perfectly well. You do not need to be.
Bust,
you do not need to be part. No, the banks in Iceland went bust. You do not need to be part of political union in order to trade with the European Union. We make that quite clear in our manifesto.
You'd cancel HS2. How would the railways get better then?
Well,
they're already overloaded, aren't they?
2 parliamentary committees have said that HS2, the case has not been made. One of them actually made that case just last week. Lord Mandelson himself admitted it was a political vanity product.
And London Airport, you think the solution is to build in Kent?
What we've actually said is that we'll wait and see what the recommendations of the Davis Committee say. But certainly we think reopening Manston Airport is part of the solution.
And you also say you're going to save £5 billion by ending the Barnett formula on Scotland. So what does that mean? You're just going to give Scotland £5 billion less?
No, it doesn't quite work like that. Although in effect it might. What we have to do is to take away the Barnett formula, look
Yeah.
at a needs-based solution.
Yeah, but
And
the
again,
question,
this is what the
but
House
that's
of
all
Lords has
sloganeering.
suggested that we
I'm
should
just
do.
puzzled as to why getting rid of one system is going to save you £5 billion.
I think, look at the way...
Unless you're meaning you're going to give less to Scotland, you're going
we
to
will give less to
Wales.
Scotland. That is absolutely not true. We will not give less to Wales, because it's quite clear that they actually need more. And we'd argue possibly the same in Northern Ireland too, but we need to get into the figures.
So would it be a per capita for everyone in the population? They get exactly the same amount of money?
Well,
How
we
would
need
it
to
work?
look. Again, the House of Lords has actually looked into this and said that the Barnett formula should go. Twice they've said the Barnett formula should go. The other parties are far too frightened of the Scots to actually do it.
Yeah.
A new formula based on need, to be decided.
OK, and we've got this new list of 10 constituencies where UKIP actually thinks it might win. Your one's not on it.
Well, I'm not going to give up trying for that. I'm actually doing very well in Shrewsbury and Atcham. I'm very proud to be representing my hometown. And whether I win or not, for me, that's about, standing up for an area that I'm proud of and that I believe in.
Do you think you are going to win?
I certainly think I'm going to do extremely well. Yes, I would very much like to. I think I'd be a very good MP for the region.
And do you see yourself as a future candidate for the leadership of UKIP? Because let's suppose Nigel Farage doesn't make it.
Nigel Farage is going to make it. And now the manifesto's launched, I've got a lot more time on my hands. I'll spend some time in a lot of my time in Shrewsbury, but I'm also determined to get on the streets of Thanet to be fighting for him very hard indeed.
OK, thank you very much.
Pleasure.